Welcome back to The Big Show. We're live here today at Montreal at the Comedy Festival, and it's always nice to talk to a TV legend. Patrick Kielty, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm dandy. I'm going out of my head in the Regency Hyatt Hotel. It's like I actually feel like a curtain salesman. You know, it's at points like this where you actually think to yourself, I'm here just for a few nights. What if my job brought me to hotels like this for eternity? You kind of just realize how lucky you are to be doing what you're doing, which is on stage talking rubbish and someone giving you a check at the end. You kind of go, yes.
What were you thinking when they said, do you want to stay at the Hyatt? And you said yes. I mean, you're a big star.
What I actually thought was that because it was my first festival, I kind of... You see, talent does two things. They either tell the truth or they pretend to be humble. And so because it was my first festival, I wanted to be the nice person, and so I didn't want sort of emails flying around and then, you know, for the festival go, who does he think he is? Like, he hasn't even played the festival. So I think what I'll do is, my first gig's tomorrow night, I'll wait until I get my first gig out of the way, and at that point then just suddenly just go strop mode after that.
I had 3 emails asking me to move here. They've obviously got rooms available. And I said no 3 times because I just thought, no, I don't want to be here. I mean, I know I'm meeting people like you and you know, you meet Jimmy Carr in passing, but really we could do that anyway. I mean, we're at a comedy festival.
To be honest with you, I really don't think bumping into me or Jimmy Carr is a reason to even go to a venue, let alone stay there. It's like why would you want to? It's just there's no logic or sense to that, I don't think.
I've been talking to a lot of people at this comedy festival about you and why you're here, and it seems like you're the cute face of comedy, because let's face it, there aren't that many good-looking people, are there, in comedy?
I didn't realise. Is this true?
This is what the ladies tell me.
Ah, okay. To be honest with you, it's the greatest compliment I've probably had in quite a while. Can you see the way? Can you see the way I'm slightly stuck for words? I'm like, who, me? Me? The ladies like me.
You're not clinically obese. You don't have funny-looking hair. I mean, you haven't got boils and pimples.
I don't. I think all of that I reserve for the deepest, darkest parts of my soul. I think that's the problem. Yeah, it's really interesting because I did an interview yesterday, and the guy was wearing a suit, you know, and I said, so, you know, what are you doing? Like, you're 38 and you're obviously pretending to be 25 in your t-shirt and your sort of skinny jeans. Why don't you act your age and put a suit on? And so I've kind of got that thing now where now you're telling me that there's a kind of a cuteness element. I'm going to just scrub up and play to that.
I don't want you to think that's coming from me. That's from what people have said.
Oh, to be honest with you, whether it's from you or women, at this point, I'm not fussy. It's like, you know, if you're a comedian, if you're single, if you're in a strange city, and if there's a chance... Like, let's be very clear. You can say, you know, that certain women think that there's a possibly cutesy element to me. That never happened. It never actually got the job done before I ended up doing stand-up. So when you actually put the stand-up on top, then hopefully... Well, we'll speak tomorrow. I'll give you my body count, you know. Right. Well, we'll see whether that's actually got me anywhere.
If we could do a survey, because I think we can't necessarily judge it in this part of town, because you are going to get offers regardless of what you look like. You might have to pay, but you're going to get offers.
Yeah, I got a hookup with a friend of mine who's got a very cute girlfriend here in Montreal, and she met me last night, and she took one look at me and said, "Where are you?" And I gave her the address. She went, "You need to get out there right now." Right? And I'm like, "Why?" She said, "That's the hooker part of town." And you're kind of thinking, I'm a straight single man, okay, and you're telling me I need to get out of there. Fine. You're then telling me that's the hooker part of town. You've basically contradicted yourself. That's the part of town I should be in, surely.
And what with the Canadian dollar? I mean, it's so cheap.
That's what I kind of think.
Cheaper than room service, isn't it?
I think it probably tastes better than room service here, let's be honest. I didn't realise there was a hooker crunch going on, but yeah, if that helps.
Patrick, why are you still single? I mean, you're in show business. You had a huge, great, big, whopping career. You're now doing places like Montreal in a comedy festival. It's all going right, isn't it?
It is all going right. I split up with a French girlfriend about 5 months ago. And so for me to be back in Montreal, I'm kind of getting flashbacks. Montreal, to me, is just like a French girlfriend because, you know, she was French English, so this whole sort of French Canada thing, you know, I'm quite amazed, and I kind of slightly fall in love with Montreal on the basis that it looks American, sounds French, but thankfully is neither. And so you've got that thing whereby Canadians, I think, are the most reasonable people in the world, and the French haven't gone out with a French girlfriend. You know, whenever things would go wrong or there'd be an argument, she'd just dismiss it as a national trait. She'd say, I am French. What do you expect? And so Montreal kind of has this thing whereby really reasonable Canadian side, totally impetuous French side, and they won't tell you when. Montreal is the geographical equivalent of a woman. Reasonable right up to a point, then totally unreasonable and French, and then back to normal again. I quite like it.
It's the decorum, isn't it?
I think it is. But I don't know. I'm kind of confused because when you try to speak French to them, they do that thing where, well, your French isn't good enough, so therefore they'll answer you in English. And then if you speak English, okay, you're right, my French isn't good enough, I'll speak in English. They go, you could have made an effort. Where's your French? I can't win.
I'm thinking Irish guy with French girlfriend, that's got to be at least 35 minutes of your act.
You generally find that when you split up with someone, just out of respect to them, that's 35 minutes of the act that then disappears. When she's your girlfriend, I think there's a rule that you should talk to Louis C.K. about this, because I think he's gone through a divorce. And so whenever you're with someone, I think you can bitch about how they've been. I think that if you split up with someone, I think you owe it to them. Look, I'm 38, I'm single. I think I'm the dysfunctional person here. Like, let's be honest. You know, for me, blaming aren't women bitches? You know, and then you suddenly realize, no, it's actually me. So.
And what's this comedy world like compared to TV? Because I think it can't be as glamorous. I mean, you've got to go up there every night and it's like, make me laugh. You've got a lot to prove compared to TV, where they've kind of been given the ticket to come in. They know who you are. You're on the big show. Everybody's going to be on your side, really, aren't they?
I think that, you know, having started out as a stand-up, you know, I started out in a comedy club in Belfast, the Empire. That was the club that I set up with Jackie Hamilton, and it was a very infamous gig in the comedy circuit in the UK. There was the Empire and Up the Creek, and unless you died at one of those two shows, you weren't really officially a comedian. And so for me, the notion of doing television and, you know, going out in front of an audience bank and you've got an edit and everything else, it's actually quite nice, but it doesn't give you the sort of ball tingle that's standing up there. You know, and I was doing some warm-up shows. I did some warm-up shows in the Comedy Store before I came out here. And again, it really wasn't a warm-up, because I was walking out and you were getting the recognition of, hey, we know you, we have an opinion on you, and so therefore we're going to run with this, or we're not going to run with this based on the perception. Whereas here, it really is that thing where we do not know you, we do not care, you will either be funny or you won't. And the stupidity of actually wanting to put yourself through that, I think only someone who's as sort of self-punishing, you know, as a comedian can actually see. When you articulate that, I sit there and go, Jesus, he's right. Why would anybody want to do that? But that's not how my mind thinks. And I kind of think that that's the whole joy of getting up there and doing it.
So is there something sadistic then in you that you actually almost want to fail to then try and succeed again?
I think it's something sadistic inside you where you want to actually go through that total painful process. And I think that whenever you do, you know, I think whenever you've been a stand-up and then you almost in the back of your mind think, because you've done telly, you've gone soft. You kind of think it's that thing about, you know, have I still got it? You know, and the only thing that will ever give you that answer is standing in front of a stage without an edit. And so whenever you do your stand-up gigs, that's how you judge yourself, because in an edit, you can make it look, you know, whenever this interview's cut, I'll sound great.
Well, and I'm also thinking, can we say ball tingling? And that's the difference between live comedy and radio and TV. It's not you can go a bit further. You can go a million times further. I mean, seeing most of the acts here, they wouldn't probably make 2 minutes on daytime TV out of a 30-minute act. Do you know what I mean?
What's really interesting is, though, that, you know, some of the bigger acts, they're on the galas. And so everyone talks about their 7 minutes. that has to be TV friendly. And I went to catch some shows last night, and I'm looking at some acts who I know are doing galas, and I'm going, how in the name of how are you going to get 7 minutes? And so the pressure of trying to put 7 minutes down, which is, there's no edit for that you only have 7 minutes, they take it live, that's it. So you don't do 20. You see, this is a great French-Canadian thing. If this festival was in the UK, they'd say, do your gala, give us your best 20, and we'll cut that down to 7, love. Whereas here in Montreal, they go, we need 7 minutes for our show, therefore you will give us 7 minutes. And you say, that's really difficult. How am I? We don't care, you're doing the gala, get on with it.
So there's no room for failure whatsoever?
Oh no, there's a lot of room for failure. Come and catch some of the shows. No, you will see there'll be the huge amount of room for failure.
And about the nerves of going up there's so many different types of comedy. I don't want to get too into that, but I mean, you see somebody like Jimmy Carr, who's gag, and nothing else, and then in the same bill as I saw last night, you've then got Ross Noble, who clearly doesn't have any act whatsoever, yet makes his 12 minutes funny.
It's really interesting because I was actually in that show. I actually went to catch that show last night too, and to see Jimmy coming on with his clipboard. And I'm sitting there going, is anybody going to raise their hand here and go, you have a clipboard? Like, at least write it on the back of your hand, Jimmy. Like, Jimmy makes no, Jimmy's got this thing about, what I've done is I've written this clever material. Therefore, if I'm reading it off a clipboard or not, this joke is clever enough that you appreciate. The fact I'm reading it doesn't matter because it's smart enough. Whereas, to see Ross coming out and just going, "Bleh!" And yet that, I think, is one of the joys of doing the festival, and it's one of the joys of doing small slots and on bills that you would never normally be on. I think that as a comedian, you got to run with that. You got to have the fun. You can never tell what's going to go big or what's not going to go big. Like this whole blue collar sort of comedy in the US, which is kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard doing stand up. I find fascinating. It's kind of like sort of NASCAR white trash. It's kind of, I don't know. It's like smart hillbillies getting up and telling stupid hillbillies what's life like a hillbilly's like. And yet that does remarkably well. I think the genius of Jimmy is that, and the genius of any, great stand-up is that if you're walking out, you can either get a laugh from 2 or 3 places. You can get a laugh from the joke. You can get a laugh from the fact that the joke didn't get a laugh, and I'm not going to tell you why it didn't get a laugh, and therefore then you get the laugh again. Or you get the laugh from actually, moving on to something else, then folding back the guy again that didn't get a laugh the last time, and saying, you see, you're laughing now. So in a way, Jimmy's a craftsman, and he can do that. And I think it's about, whenever you come to strange places, and it's that type of thing where you're on stage, it's a bit like Dancing with Wolves, where he's kind of like, today the wolves came closer, they're almost eating from my hand. You trying to sort of work out, is that going to work, is that going to work? And what's interesting is seeing the way Britcom plays here and the way that we deliver our stuff compared to, there seems to be a great polish about American comedians, whether the substance of the material is there or not. So and in a way, we sometimes, as comedians from the other side, of the poem, we do this thing where we kind of say, yeah, but American comedians do that kind of, do you ever notice when you're flying, and they've got that sort of right angled arm technique and the mic, and their mic technique is impeccable, and so it's like watching a golf swing. You're going, look at the backswing, look at the follow through. The ball still ended up in the rough. So it's the whole weird thing of comedians being together.